I was invited to this girl's birthday party, which was at a roller skating rink. And I really had a crush on her and I wanted to be cool. And so I got her a Dangerous Minds soundtrack. And then I went in there and I gave it to her and she's like, oh, I already have like 3 of these. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, I got mine. Hello, I'm Sebastian Stan and today I'm going to play Tastemaker with Vanity Fair. You should keep all of that. I don't necessarily recommend things to people because people don't ask me for recommendations. Actually, sometimes maybe about certain restaurants, I would say, or movies, I guess, you know. Let's get this thing started. A superhero movie for a pretentious film buff. Well, The Dark Knight. I mean, is there anything more than that? Anybody that loves film would love that movie. I really loved Batman Returns with Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman. Do you remember what you loved about it when you saw that? Michelle Pfeiffer, you know, but I just loved the tone of the movie, the music. It felt just like an experience. And Batman, I mean, it was one of the first times we saw him on screen through Michael Keaton as a person, a real person. And it's a character movie, actually, and in a lot of ways. And yeah, it was a movie I watched a lot when I was growing up. A TV series for someone who just finished Gossip Girl. Well, Euphoria, right, is sort of pretty interesting and pretty incredible. It's hard for me with TV. It's hard, I have to admit. I've been really actually pretty devoted to White Lotus, I have to say. Beef was one that I loved, and I will definitely watch the second season. Every night for the past 2 weeks, I've been like, Shogun, tonight's the night. And I haven't made it yet, but I'm going to, because it looks incredible. It's weird. That's why I go back to movies for some reason. It's harder with a series. I feel the pressure of, okay, if I'm starting this, I have to finish it. So sometimes movies are easier.
How frequently these days are people bringing up Gossip Girl to you?
Oh, it still happens, for sure. Randomly, when I'm sort of waiting at a stoplight or something, somebody will be like, and I'll be like, Bucky, oh no, Carter Bazin. Oh, okay, right. Oh yes, an NYC restaurant. For someone trying to impress a date. What NYC restaurant that I want to continue to go to freely? We learned this lesson back in the old days of Gossip Girl. When Chase Crawford decided to, I think pretty sure, tell People magazine that he liked to hang out at the Dark Room in New York City on the Lower East Side. And the Dark Room enjoyed a lot of business. That was a spot we used to go to all the time. I guess you could go to Raoul's. People go to Raoul's in Soho. Or now probably Williamsburg is a pretty, you know, impress a date kind of spot. I think suggest a place to go and have a drink and then book a restaurant just in case, you know, it goes well. And then you get hungry and you have a spot to go and you're like, oh, by the way, I made a reservation at this place. And then you can just kind of, you know, be impromptu about it. And then maybe you don't go, or maybe it's going really well and you go. Okay. A Sebastian Stan movie for someone's grandmother. I haven't done a movie for a grandmother yet. Maybe I should. You know what? I would like to recommend, actually, for a grandmother, the movie Fresh. Because I think a grandmother would really enjoy the craziness of that film. Don't underestimate grandparents. They have way crazier, dirtier minds than any of us. So I'm just telling you. I grew up with grandparents, which is why I love grandparents, but maybe I'll go with Fresh. And then a movie to not see, maybe don't watch this movie called The Apparition. Didn't turn out the greatest. The Perfect Snack. I've definitely snuck in snacks into a movie theater in my life. Wine. I also vaguely remember like a grilled salmon Caesar salad or something. I used to work at a movie theater, which was very interesting. So I've been on the other side of it. The thing that I hated the most is when people were loud. Like when somebody was really loud, and then they would somebody else would come up to you and be like, "Can you tell the person in the back row to be quiet?" And then I'd have to go in there and be like the bad person. But it was great because it was during the 90s, and I remember it was all of the I Know What You Did Last Summer, Urban Legend, all those, the Scream movies, Blair Witch Project, all that stuff was happening while I was working at a movie theater. And so I got to watch all those movies. If kids were nice, I would sometimes let them go into the rated R movie, even though they probably shouldn't have. But they were like, "Can we go and can we sneak in that movie?" I'd be like, "Yeah, you seem pretty cool, so yeah, go ahead." Don't bring like a kebab in a movie theater, or a soup, or something like that, because in the dark it spills and it's hot. Some elaborate kind of like a ribeye steak. Broadway show. For a musical skeptic, I have just the one. Mulan Rouge. Can't go wrong. I mean, like, you will know the songs, and when you go there, when I went to see it, it was a rock concert. It was amazing. Everyone got a drink. Everyone was singing with each song. Mulan Rouge will change your musical experience. I did a lot of musicals when I was very young, and I remember I went through a phase where I was obsessed with Rent. Rent had just come out on Broadway, and I was one of those kids where, yeah, I knew every song, every word. But Rent, also not a very conventional musical. It's kind of this rock opera. A horror movie. For someone who claims they're never scared, who really is always scared, I would say Goodnight Mommy. Very disturbing film. I'm into more like, I want to say like elevated horror. I mean, I guess The Witch is a very debatable genre film, although technically it's meant to be horror. But is Nosferatu considered to be horror? I'm not sure, but incredible movie. Just so heightened and artistic, creative. I still feel that The Shining still manages to do the job years and years later, and that's the sign of a great movie, when it can stand the test of time. One more. There's a movie called The Audition, and that one's also pretty disturbing. It's about a director trying to cast a lead role, and this actress comes in, and the rest is history, much like in Hollywood. A movie soundtrack for someone falling in love. Well, I remember growing up in high school, somehow listening to the Great Expectations soundtrack, I think, when I fell for somebody. The Her soundtrack by Arcade Fire is a very emotional soundtrack. When I was in high school, the coolest thing you could ever give anybody was the Dangerous Mind soundtrack with Michelle Pfeiffer. I was invited to this girl's birthday party, which was at a roller skating rink, and I really had a crush on her, and I wanted to be cool, and so I got her a Dangerous Mind soundtrack. And then I went in there and I gave it to her, and she's like, "Oh, I already have like 3 of these." And I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, I got mine." In high school, I loved getting movie soundtracks in high school, because you would get different artists. It was a mix. Like, I remember the Batman Forever soundtrack. I really, really liked. Pulp Fiction was another one. Pulp Fiction, Jackie Brown were great soundtracks. A podcast for someone interested in self-help. I like a few. No, there is The Gray Area on Spotify is really great. It's amazing. I mean, so many different people, different subject matters. I like Armchair with Dak Shepard. School of Greatness is another really good one. I like hearing stories of people who've been through things. I think it's important to kind of always hear someone's journey and then you can kind of relate to it or not. A novel. For a news junkie who needs some levity, I would suggest George Saunders' A Swim in a Pond in the Rain. It really settles the breath, brings down the nervous system. You remember it's not about you, and it's not about any of us, and we're all going to die anyway. I think, like movies, books for me end up being like a relationship. You kind of are spending time with a friend, and it's sort of this back and forth that happens between you and this piece of art or something. It speaks to you in a certain way. And I find so often now we're being told what to think and what to feel and what to take into something. I think for everyone, it's a new discovery. It's just like, go take a chance. Like, pick out a book and don't even read the back. A movie. For someone immigrating to America, if they still can. Very difficult for me not to obviously mention The Godfather. I would say The Godfather Part 2 more, because that goes back in time and you really see him coming to New York and you see the Statue of Liberty and he sees it from the boat and so on. And for some reason, I don't know, every time I run, in New York, like I run on the West Side Highway, I always look at the Statue of Liberty and it just never gets old to me, because I'm like, this is that symbol, that represented so much for people coming here, starting their lives from scratch and bringing culture and different food and different history and family. And it's an origin story, and you realize how much of this country is founded by immigrants. A daytime activity in NYC. For a group of lifelong friends. Honestly, I could walk in Central Park, and I do as much as I can. It brings me back to When Harry Met Sally. There's a lot of walks and talks you could do, especially if you're lifelong friends. You probably have a lot to be always catching up on. So yeah, I would walk from 80th Street and Broadway all the way down to like downtown. Walking in the city, there's nothing like that, because you're seeing so much life, you're seeing so many different people, and clears your mind and it gives you perspective in terms of whatever else you need to be talking to your lifelong friend about. I remember when I was first backpacking through Europe, and this was in 2003 or so, and there were no phones and stuff. I just walked around. The best thing to do is just walk. You see the most out of everything. Go take a trip to a city you've never been and put your phone in your pocket. It's there. You'll never get lost. And just like go see where it takes you, And you'll discover like that restaurant that the locals go to, or you'll see something you didn't know about or whatever,
Cool. That's a cut.
All right, thanks.